SambaSports podcast, where stories are told.
Welcome back to SambaSports podcast, where stories are told. Hello everyone, my name's Denton Knight, and we're continuing part 2 of this 3-part series where we reverse the script, and I'm interviewing Mohamed Mwachausa. So on this, for this podcast, this session, we'll be discussing the primary challenges across coastal Kenya, specifically in the counties of Kwale, primarily, but also Mombasa, Kilifi, and Lamu. So just to get started, Mohamed, could you tell me a bit about what you see as the primary challenges in the region?
Yeah, well, quite a number of challenges in the region, as it were in the entire country. But the first thing that hits your face is drug and substance abuse for a lot of our young people. When you go through from the ferry all the way to Lunga Lunga, you meet a lot of these young people that are injection drug users, heroin addicts. And it takes a toll, almost a big chunk of the youth. I would say at least 1,000 young people fall to drug use or substance abuse every year, and the outlet for them is very minimal because not one singular strategy has been able to take even 20% of those who drop into that drug and substance abuse. And then the other thing is juvenile crime. Young people as early as 12 years, 13 years get themselves into gangs, and there is gang heroism. A young person who sees a gang leader as a prophet of some sort, because there is that power with gangs. So a lot of young people have been taken to think that being in a gang is the in thing, is the thing to be. And another thing, as it were in the entire world, violent extremism is rife, and some people have written Kwale as a hotbed for extremist activities. And unfortunately, we have one of our hotspot towns as the major recruiting, have been documented as a major recruiting zones for young people by extremist tendencies. So that's a big concern. Another thing is we are suffering, I would say, a downtown on livelihood opportunities. We have the tourism sector, we have agriculture as an opportunity, but then unfortunately it's not worked for so many people.
It's not enough.
And young people are really suffering. They don't get enough hope and faith that life is going to be better. But there's an elephant in the room, Denton. The elephant in the room is mental health. Because with drugs, with juvenile crime, with violent extremism, a lot of it is connected to mental stability. So for as long as our young people and our parents and leaders are not mentally stable, and we don't produce enough mental health therapy, then basically a lot of young people will still go back to drug and substance abuse and to juvenile crime, and they'll be taken by extremists. Yeah. So mental health is, for me, is a hallmark, an umbrella that sort of creates that risk. Yeah.
So perhaps you'd say like some of the root causes of all these issues is that mental health challenge. And why do you think the mental health is such a problem now as opposed to maybe 100 years ago or maybe 200 years ago?
Let me give you two perspectives. One, I had an opportunity to work for a drug substance abuse rehabilitation center, Reach Out, in 2005 as the administrator. And everybody who came by the door, we had to take a profile and do entry interview. And at least 95% of every inmate was coming from a broken family. So that tells you they are suffering, their emotions are, they are not able to cope with their emotions, and that's why they get lured to drugs as a way of numbing their pain, and then they get hooked, and then they can't get out of it. So that's number one. Number two, in the other perspective of why now are not the olden days, is because the systems in the olden days were working. The cultural activities, the communism was the socialism was was playing a big role. People lived in extended families. Every family was in good relationship with other people. Young people would be sent to their aunts for a small mistake, for their aunts to come and have all this conversation and stuff. So there was more of communal engagement. But now every family is more of a nucleus family. So if there's an issue, you are left alone. If you don't get a solution within your nucleus family, then basically you don't have anybody to help you. And that has really affected young people.
Do you see that as a historical challenge that arose from the effect of colonialism, or is it a more recent modernization issue as Kenya industrializes and the population expands so much that family networks are falling by?
I would say to some extent, yes, because of course colonialism is what brought new education, is what brought new religion, is what brought modernization and all that kind of stuff. So as people yearn to be more modern, we were dropping a lot more of our own cultures and traditions. So now, whereas people would converge in the evening as a family to talk about stories of hope and faith and resilience, now we don't do that anymore.
Right.
And because of that, by and by, you are left alone with your issues. If you have 100% of your issues, you are suffering with them even if you don't show them on your face. And that's why suicides, homicides are on the rise, because we do not have the supportive systems like we used to have the olden days. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you think is the role of religious organizations, mosques and church communities and other groups as well in supporting or in addressing some of these ills?
Yeah, they have a big role. They would actually play a big part in addressing some of these issues, drugs, juvenile crime, extremism and all that. Unfortunately, you would ask yourself, how much are they ready to address issues of mental health because they are intertwined with these other problems? A lot of sheikhs and imams and preachers just use the doctrine, they use the Bible and the Quran to address every challenge that comes to them without having any expertise or even appreciation that some of these matters are stemming from mental health issues. So for as long as they don't touch the mental health, you may use the Quran and the Bible. But then if someone is suffering, is writhing in pain and suffering stigma, is in trauma, you may not be able to address all of that. And even in our programming as SambaSports, where we have started taking young people through mental health conversations, 12 sessions of trauma healing sessions. When we give them a livelihood opportunity, they'll take it with all hands, because now their brains, their minds have been sanitized, their hearts are at peace. But if you meet young people struggling out there, and the first thing you do is give them an opportunity maybe for a business or an employable skill set, they would still look at it with assumptions, with judgment and suspicion, thinking you may not mean well, because already their mentality, their mental health is not stable. So we have practiced that, we have seen it, we have seen how it works. Where we have not started with mental health support, the results have not been as good. Yeah.
And you would say it's not the religious approach or the mental health approach, but integrating them, right?
It has
they
to
can
be
work
integrated
alongside each other and have that spiritual support as well as all the best science and the best material.
I would say there is nothing like a one size fits all strategy. It is contextual. But for us, I think the one thing that makes us unique as SambaSport is that we are integrated, we are holistic. We try to move 360 degrees of every challenge that we are addressing. For instance, if we do a Girl Power Fun Day, we'll bring young girls of diverse religions and ethnic entities to come and play together. So there's that element of playing and excitement and bonding. When they hug each other and they are from different entities and social backgrounds, already there's a certain way of appeasing those differences. And then we take them through life skills during play breaks. So they get to see icons, people they adore, talking to them, giving them hope that even us, these people who share their stories, saying even us, we used to go through the same challenge that you are going through, but now we are where we are. So there's that inspiration. In the same context, there's inspiration. In the same context, there's education. For instance, when you're talking about menstruation and hygiene education, It is in the Galpa Afande. They have played. They have been inspired by a guest, but at the same time, they are getting education on menstrual hygiene. All right. By the end of it all, they are getting some presents, sanitary packs or T-shirts that even inspire them more. In the same context, we give them a microphone to say how they feel. What are their fears? What are their dreams? How do they think their dreams can be uplifted? So in one segment, we have gone 360 degrees that every segment is supposed to uplift the welfare of that young person. So that's why it works. So for religious leaders, if they need to make it work, they need to integrate it from a holistic perspective, not just using the doctrine.
Right.
If you keep telling me you are going to ban if you don't pray, every day the mantra is the same. There are other aspects of my life that are not touched. What if I don't eat for a week? What if I don't have a job after my degree for 5 years? You don't talk about it.
How does that affect your emotions, your perspective?
Exactly.
And as my religious if you never eat.
My religious leader, you've not even talked about it. You've not talked about my parents divorced. You not even checked how I'm faring. All right? And you want me just to, by the mention of God alone, to address all my issues. That's why we say we need to integrate. We need to integrate all this, and that's why we also bring religious leaders to be part and parcel of our programming here.
Yeah. I feel a little bad for phrasing the initial question in terms of the challenges Kwale is facing. What do you see as the strengths of the community? What are the values? What do they have already that we can grow on? What are the opportunities here in this community?
I think I thank you for asking that, because a lot of the time we focus more on the challenges and not the opportunities. One big opportunity we have is that the Kwale people and the coastal region people basically are very accommodative. We have been overly accommodated by our people. They say very nice things about our work, and that is a strength. Another thing is they can learn. When we gather parents and take them through maybe alternative disciplinary action, and we take them through how they can mentor their adolescents, they come back to us and say, why didn't you come 2 years back? Because we wouldn't have made the mistakes that we are making right now. So that tells you they are ready to learn. They are ready to learn. And I would say the other very good opportunity for us is that we are in a very peaceful environment. Of course, some pockets of issues, conflicts here and there, but then overly, 95% of the time, we are a very peaceful community. So it's easy to engage. And then the one thing that is the main foundation of SambaSports is that the community has a volunteerism spirit, because Samba wouldn't be here if it were not for volunteers giving their time, giving their all, committing and sacrificing for their community. So that's another plus that we are getting from this community.
Yeah. And what are some of the other community organizations that you all have partnered with?
We have partnered with a number of organizations. I would say up to 30 local organizations. In the last 8 months or so, we have been mentoring 17 to 18 young organizations in Kwale through a program we called LISC, Lifting Social Enterprises in Kwale. And every month we had 2 trainings of these organizations, and they are all part of our umbrella. Apart from those, we have like 20 other organizations that we work with time to time. This weekend coming, we've been invited in Kinango by another organization that feels our presence would add value to their work. So we get invited by organizations, we get invited by schools, we get invited by corporates to go and contribute to the success of their programming or their events.
Yeah. So if a listener has heard about these challenges and they want to do something, what are some ways you would recommend getting involved in the community?
I think the first thing is reaching out through our email address, which is sambasportsagenda@gmail.com, or someone can go to our social media platforms and talk to us if they cannot get that email address. They can go to our website, www.sambasport.org, also to see what we are doing, and also leave a message and say, how can I reach out? Those are some of the platforms. But in the meantime, we are working on a crowdfunding platform that should be ready maybe in a month's time or so, and we will be sharing, contents about that platform and where someone can go. Even for as little as $1, one can contribute to us uplifting somebody's life.
Yeah.
So we welcome everyone, and it's not just money.
Right.
You can contribute in kind. Denton can say, I want to be here for 2 months to contribute to your work. Your presence matters. Your skills matter. We have 2 international volunteers who've been with us since January. They'll be going back home in October from the US, from the United States of America. That's part of the contribution. They are here, they are working with us, they show their support, they give us their skills. So that's part of the contribution. So it's not just financial support. We are welcoming every bit and piece of support that we can get out there, so that we can uplift. Even if we are able to uplift one person from the ground, we'll be glad and we'll be very proud. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and please welcome back for part 3 on the relationship between local community service organizations and international donors.